Welcome, everyone, to episode 165 of Puppet Masters and Castle Freaks, the internet's leading all things Charles Band podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jared Hornbeck, but you can just call me Flower. In fact, I insist from now on, I shall be known on this show only as Flower. And if you're not having a good time listening to this podcast, then you don't know how to have a good time. It's about time that someone said that. And I think one-on-one is nice, but two-on-two is even better. So who else is here with me?
Well, it's me, Cosmo Cowboy Steve Guntley. And have you guys ever tasted carbonite? Because I sure have. Let me tell you, it's gross. This is the podcast about intergalactic strip clubs, bedsheet togas, and simple yet exquisite pies. That's because this is the podcast about Andromina, the pleasure planet, another slice of intergalactic softcore from the fine folks at Surrender Cinema. Holy shit. This is one of the rare movies that we've watched that I think doubles as both a film and possible evidence. I feel like this is evidence of some kind of crime. I don't know.
Well, Steve, you've been mentioning the phrase intergalactic softcore, by the way, has just applied too much, I think, to this show of late. I don't want to take anything away from this particular recording, but it's like this has been a heavy theme in the recent years of this show. We might have to give our show a new subtitle, which is, instead of a Full Moon Features podcast, this is just an intergalactic softcore podcast.
Absolutely.
Or at least that's what it's felt like for the last 2 months, I think.
Definitely a theme. But we're excited to be joined by a returning guest back to the show. Who is joining us here today?
Hi, it's me, John Gholson. I am a former sketch comedy troupe alumni with Steve, and I am probably best known for my roles in. Can I say the F word?
Please.
Of course. Fuck My Son, which is still in theaters, and Man Finds Tape. I am an actor and cartoonist living in Austin, Texas.
And you may have seen a profile in a recent issue of Fangoria by our friend Colleen Huffner. So very exciting to that. I mean, that was just, I was living vicariously through your excitement for that. But I mean, oh my God, awesome. That must have been such a thrill. That's incredible.
It was nuts. You have it kind of mentally as like a bucket list as a horror fan who has made horror movies. I'm like, oh, it would be nice someday to just have my name mentioned, much less like, oh, a 2-page profile was like,
right.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Yeah. I mean, I'll take it.
I mean, you had two you had prominent roles in two very buzzy kind of underground movies. There's Man Finds Tape, which is accessible, and you can find that like streaming on Apple TV and places like that. Fuck My Son has been, they're kind of taking like a roadshow like approach to that. Like, you mentioned that there's no like plan to have that streaming anytime soon. Is that still the case?
Yeah, from what I understand, there will be no physical media release. There will be no streaming version of what's in theaters right now. If it ever comes out, there's certain things that I know would have to be edited, not necessarily for like, it's not like gross out content or sexual content or anything like that. There's like some specific things that if you've seen the movie, would have to come out of the movie probably for legal reasons in order to release it. So, so yeah, and I think if I had to guess, and I haven't talked to the director about this, but if I had to guess, those things are in the movie specifically, so it is harder for him to release it on streaming. He does get to keep the promise to himself that it will play in theaters, and his hope is to. Yeah, take it out, tour it for a little while, put it away, take it back out and tour it. I think it just played, I think it just played Belgium.
Oh, wow.
It's been crazy. Yeah, it's been crazy. It's had like an international release, and there's been Q&As in cities all over the place. It was held over at IFC Film Center in New York for like weeks and weeks. It's been.
I heard about it a lot here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to be. I was scared to be in the movie, to be quite honest with you, and it's been interesting to see the life that it's had, and now I'm proud of it. I'm not as nervous now that it's out in the world.
I mean, I remember you sending me like a brief little clip of something that happens in the movie, which I will not spoil, but like you sent me a clip of it while you were shooting it, and you're like, holy shit, am I doing
Yeah.
something insane with this? Is this like too much? I'm like, no, this is amazing. Like it looks so disgusting and so cool. And I love that they've approached it with this kind of like grindhouse mentality of like where you need to go see it in the theater. You need to see it with people around. Like it's this communal like thing where you get a hoot and holler at the screen. And it's been getting like a lot of press, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So
Very
excited.
He struck 35 millimeter prints. And I just happened to be in Dallas when it played the Texas Theater in Dallas. And it was really, it's hard to put into words as somebody who worked in a movie theater and worked as a projectionist for a really long time to like see yourself on a 35 millimeter print. I mean, it was kind of, it has been an interesting year because acting full time means you're not really acting full time, means you're acting like once every 3 or 4 months if you're lucky. And that was sort of like the hard lesson. Yeah. And it was a nice, quiet win, and it felt very humbling's like the wrong word. It's sort of like it's the same feeling as like when you stand before the ocean and it's all, if you've ever been to the beach when everything's quiet and you stand by the ocean, you feel like good inside. And it was like, oh, I'm on 35 millimeter film. This feels right. I don't know how to describe it.
Amazing.
But yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it's like I think what you're saying is it's like there's a balance like in nature where it's like everything around you slows down and you're like, oh, it's like everything is in its proper place. Like people can see me on the 35 millimeter, and it's like you're being I guess, I don't know, there's something about how you're being like preserved in the world.
Yeah.
Like where you fit kind of makes sense there. This is the type of deep conversation that only can come with Andromina.
I was gonna say I don't think anybody involved in this movie got to have that same sensation of seeing themselves on like a beautifully preserved piece of film on screen, because I was counting at least 3 different film stocks that they were going back and forth between in this movie. Like I don't think any of them was 35 mil. One of them was maybe a cell phone camera from 2000. So
and one quick thing, Steve, before we get going on the movie proper, John, I did not see Fuck My Son yet, but I will say I saw a Q&A with Tipper Newton for a smaller movie that she was in last year called Every Heavy Thing.
Oh yeah. Is that Mickey Reese's movie, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she was awesome. I'm like, I'll kind of watch her in anything now.
Yeah.
I know we need to move on to the actual movie we're here to talk about, but Tipper is so good in Fuck My Son, and like I didn't really get to work with her. I crossed paths with her on set, and the fact that she shares the screen with 2 Robert Kurtzman creations that are grotesque prosthetic creatures, and the fact that she holds your attention over these like grotesqueries is really a testament to her skills as an actress. She's really good in it.
Oh, yeah. Amazing.
No, and in Every Heavy Thing too, she's like she's sort of playing a more like a straight role, all things considered, in the movie, but she's such a standout because even playing just like the put upon girlfriend of the main character, the energy she puts into that role is so different from what you would expect. It's like same thing. It's like there's all this weird shit happening in that movie too, and yet sometimes it's like her just asking the dude questions about his day is the most interesting part of the movie. Like she's such a cool energy.
Well, let's learn a little bit about Andromina, the Pleasure Planet, which was released May 30th, 2000. It's directed by Derek Patrick Maloney, written by Louise Monclair, and it stars Shira Deland, Christian Boving, who is billed as John Matrix, Mike Roman, Miyoko Fujimura, who is billed as Flower, Eric Stratton, Gina Ray Carter, Griffin Drew, and Sam Phillips. Now, Andromina was released in some markets as Taboo Planet, which only heightens the similarities to another film that we've covered called Planet, which is also dealing with a planet entirely populated by women, But apparently band had been planning a version of this movie since 1986. It was just going to be called The Pleasure Planet, and it was going to be released under a very short-lived sub-label called Urban Entertainment. That never came about. This got pushed off and pushed off and pushed off, and finally it was released under the Surrender Cinema stable, under a sub-label called Twilight Entertainment, which I don't really know much about that. This is the one and only directorial feature for Derek Patrick Maloney. He had a very long career as a location scout for some of the finest B movies of the 80s and 90s, including some infamously cursed projects like Roger Corman's 1994 Fantastic Four film and the live-action Gem and the Holograms from 2015.
I mean, the pipeline is obvious.
The pipeline's obvious. Look, that's a John Chu movie. That's like it's a real movie. It was a flop, but it was a real movie. And he has an additional footage by credit for 1993's camp horror classic Carnosaur. So, I'll give him that at least. Carnosaur is a lot of fun. But this seems to be after Andromina, he just had no more stories in him. He was ready to move on. It was out into the world. He told his tale. The screenwriter Louise Monclair has about a dozen credits in softcore films like this. I highly suspect this is a pseudonym for somebody.
Yes.
I'd be very surprised if this was actually written by a woman.
Richards all over again.
This has a very loose relationship to the way women actually behave. But John, you requested this one specifically, and we were kind of surprised by that one because I didn't think anybody had heard of this movie. I was curious, was this a spin the wheel situation, or is this something you have a relationship with?
I have a long committed relationship with We're getting married this summer.
You're common law. Yeah, you're common law currently, but you're making it real.
Yeah, no, I looked at the choices ahead of me, and I kind of went, okay, this title intrigues me. Let me give a brief glance on Letterboxd just to see how what the general consensus is. And in looking at this one, I was like, okay, there's some actually pretty positive reviews on Letterboxd, and I was like, all right, yeah, this sounds pretty this sounds easy. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
this sounds like, it's like an extrapolation of the Star Trek episodes where they land on a planet and they're like, oh, let's have some R&R. It wasn't quite that. It actually, we'll get into it. I was kind of surprised how sci-fi it wasn't. Like, it's
right.
It almost has no sci-fi elements other than things mentioned in passing and dialogue. But yeah, I was like, oh, I could sort of easily watch an extended shore leave with nudity,
which is kind of what's promised here. And I was sort of expecting to, like, with a lot of these movies in particular, like the softcore stuff, the Surrender Cinema, the Torchlight Cinema, I admit I fast forward a bit through some of the sex scenes because they're incredibly long and they're not particularly titillating or fun or interesting, and they're shot kind of indifferently. This one, I wound up being a little more locked into it just because of how deeply batshit this movie is. It was weirder and worse and more entertaining in ways that I was not expecting.
Well, John, you picked it, or we kind of landed on it, but by the same token, wasn't it between this and like a more legitimate movie? I feel like it was between two things, and we were just like, no, let's do this. Which in hindsight was maybe the wrong choice, only because, I mean, I like that this, it is a simple choice, and it's like you can obviously sit down and turn your brain off, but it's like, you would have no way of knowing this, but we have watched so many of these lately.
Yeah, we had Femalian come up recently, and before that it was Petticoat Planet, and then
and you'll hear Lurid Tales of the Castle Queen,
right, which also has a sci-fi element. Yeah, surprisingly. So I think we both kind of put off a lot of these like Skinamax style movies just because they're just kind of awkward to talk about a lot of the time. And so now we're kind of at a point where like, oh yeah, we've got a real corridor like of a lot of these.
There's only so many times that Steve and I can talk about our personal history with Skinamax, what it meant to us at age 13. So John, I guess that this is as good a time as any then to hand it over to you and say like, what was your relationship with you know, I mean, this is a 2000, but we'll go back a little further and we'll say like, you know, early 90s into mid 90s kind of Skinamax softcore, because Steve and I are very fond of it as this concept of like, of this thing where that was available to us, you know, back when it was the only way that you could potentially see a boob. And obviously times changed, and I think times changing are probably what was the final nail in the coffin very shortly after the release of this movie. But like, we've both told our stories about, you know, like, whether it was more modest like USA Up All Night, or like scrambling the Spice Channel off of your black box. Like, what was your how does this stuff make you feel when you look back on it?
So I had Showtime as like a 14, 15, 16-year-old. And the two movies that I remember, everybody has like their ones that they definitely remember watching. My two were what I would do. Oh God, I've never told anybody this before. But what I would do is I would.
This is what we call an exclusive.
My thing is, after everybody went to bed, I would take a video cassette tape. I would put it in the VCR. I would hit record on Showtime, and then in the morning see what ended up on the tape. And so I had, so I had a videotape that had two films on it. One was Valentina, based on like an Italian comic book about the Baba Yaga. That's actually not a softcore movie at all. It has some nudity in it, but it's a really strange Italian comic book movie. And then the other one was a French movie that's like, look who's talking with a pair of panties, but it's called Secrets of the Satin Blues.
Wow.
And so it's about this woman that has this pair of blue panties that she hangs on the line outside to dry, and then they like blow off and land in somebody else's apartment, and then that person brings them back, and then she lets somebody borrow them at one point. But the whole time the panties are like talking and telling the story of like getting passed around and all the adventures and all this sort of stuff. So my big like formative like softcore movie was Secrets of the Satin Blues.
That's amazing.
This whole thing ended when there's like a softcore version of Twelfth Night, Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, that I got a little bold about taping, and then my mom found the tape the next morning, and I tried to play it off as like, oh, it was Twelfth Night, it was Shakespeare. I was recording Shakespeare. I didn't know it had all this and that. And I think it got me out of it by the skin of my teeth. But that was the end of my by putting a cassette in and then just like a grab bag, like seeing what nudity might await me in the morning.
That's so funny. I feel like I did the same thing, like, because now I'm trying to compartmentalize, and it's like, I think because we had a one of those illegal boxes for a while, and so I think like HBO, I feel like on HBO you'd get movies, but really Dream On was like that. I remember Dream On being on HBO, one of the early series. If I'm not mistaken, was Red Shoe Diaries on Showtime?
Yeah, it was
so,
Showtime.
yeah.
Showtime exclusive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Red Shoe Diaries, maybe like Emmanuel stuff was on Cinemax then. I don't know. I'm trying to remember like which was on each specific channel.
I think that was around when Emmanuel in Space was on. Yeah, that would have been a Cinemax, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I laughed when we got to cover it, however long ago it was now, but like I maybe similarly on a recorded VHS had Beach Babes from Beyond. It was a big hit. It was one we talked about. This is so weird. We talked about it in school the next day. There was like a kid that was like another like little pervert too, who was like in my class in like 8th grade, who was like, oh man, did you see Beach Babes from Beyond? That and the other one was like Sylvia Crystal's Beauty School. And those two movies were like, I might have had them on a tape together. But that's such a great, like, completely lost to time practice.
Yeah.
Like, of how to catch just completely weird shit in the wild. And we've had different versions of this conversation, even as recently as when we did the Moonbeam movies for Magic in the Mirror. It's like, what was your weirdest VHS you had in your house that you just thought was normal? like, oh yeah, this is like a movie. Everyone has this, and someone comes over and looks through your VHS tapes and says, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
Like we all had that one just super random movie that was specific to our house only. And again, like yeah, these conversations are so closely tied to those softcore ones too, because it's like it wasn't even limited to like preteens or prepubescent or pubescent like boys too. It's like
No.
anyone looking for anything with nudity in it, like this was the avenue where
Yeah.
you had to go. And I had kind of a hilarious time watching this one and imagining someone in the year 2000, like right on the precipice of internet porn, like having to just deal with like the diplomatic situations of like the recipe conflict and all the stuff going on in this movie to get to quote unquote the good stuff. Like I'm like, this movie is weird.
Yeah. I mean, and the similar phenomenon that's basically disappeared. Like not only the Cinemax movies don't really exist anymore, but the fact that there is an R-rated cut of one of these movies, which is what we ended up watching. I don't know if y'all were watching the same file that I did, but the DVD that I purchased, because there was no way to stream this otherwise, the DVD I purchased only comes with the R-rated cut, which is about 80 minutes, and it's incredibly truncated, like in terms of the nudity and the sex and everything like that. I don't know how much more intense this got. This movie seems reluctant to let anybody even touch each other. Like there's a lot of like hand hovering. There's a lot of like, I'm not touching you, like, and a lot of like intense staring and lots of that. So watching an R-rated cut of a movie that's already kind of like a diluted porn just feels utterly pointless. And we were not really showing up for the production values here because
Stop, Steve. No,
dear Lord.
I'm going to stop you right there because this movie has something that a lot of the other softcores that we've watched don't have, which is this has its own like Bond theme song that plays multiple times.
If Tori Amos did a bad Bond theme song, I mean, what was that? It was such a strange song. Like it's a little bit talking about like a galactic like sex club, but it
sounds like it sounded very like improvised. It was almost like when Homer sings the Max Power song. Like, the name you mustn't touch.
It was very much that. And I mean, it's just the premise of this movie is basically we need to band together and save the convention center, except the convention center is a intergalactic strip club, and the way that they save it is through human trafficking. Essentially,
I love, Steve, that you put save the convention center. In my notes I wrote, this plot line is we must save the summer camp.
Exactly that. It's that trope of like a bunch of down on their luck misfits who need to save like this business that they love because like, oh, you know, I didn't catch if there was any kind of like subtext about an evil corporation trying to shut them down or something, but apparently Andromina, which is, it's a little bit misleading, okay, because the cover art of the DVD, it shows a bunch of women on like this lush planet. It's this illustrated copy. They're all blue skinned or at least painted blue. That doesn't happen in the movie.
No.
It also should be mentioned that Andromina, the pleasure planet, is not actually the planet that they spend most of the movie on. The planet is called Eros. Okay, so Eros, the pleasure planet, would actually make a whole lot more sense as a title.
What I meant to say is the pleasure planet is actually a peninsula.
It's kind of that. And the pleasure planet itself is actually a strip club that truly looks like it's in the municipal basement. Like this is like, it's the same kind of like white brick walls that like they had in my elementary school. Like it looks so dingy and so gross. I will say they have a neon sign behind the bar that says tits and ass. That Ailish came in and saw me watching that, and she's like, can we get that sign? Like, so I think we might be in the market for a tits and ass neon sign that we're just gonna like put around our house. But yeah, it's they have a bar that doesn't seem to have any alcohol on it. They have a strip, or they have like a stage that's about as wide as like a desk and doesn't have a pole. and they have seats for like 4 guys who can sit around at any time and like ogle and like throw things. And that's the pinnacle of pleasure. According to this movie, this is the most pleasurable, most exotic, most sexy place in the entire universe.
I take some umbrage with that because I was like, wow, this is like a really dilapidated, shitty looking set. And John, were you as disappointed as I was that this was not, in fact, softcore Avatar?
So I had seen the poster but forgotten it until after I watched the movie, and then was like, oh, these are like Na'vi adjacent, which they're not in the movie at all. In fact, in the movie, the women reminded me a lot of that Futurama episode, Amazon Women in the Mood, where they want to do snoo snoo. They all wear like cartoon caveman outfits and carry spears. And I was like, oh, this is I don't know which came first. I realized that there's like a history of media where men end up in a jungle and meet a bunch of like tribes women that use them for their pleasure, that helped inspire that Futurama episode. But there were things in this that I felt like were specific overlaps where I thought they had to have seen this. The club's interesting because like I couldn't really understand why at least one person didn't have a Halloween costume on. Like, why wasn't there one alien? Like, just at least somebody with a rubber mask, but instead it's just some dudes. There's like a neon
like
sign
they're just
in
kind of
the
like
dead center of the
bikers.
wall that says beer. That's the other one. Is like, it's not even like artfully arranged. It's just dead center of a white wall. This
Am I wrong?
Tiny neon sign.
Was there also like a neon lit bowling pin?
I didn't see a bowling pin. There is like a big elaborate like neon naked woman.
Yes, there's that also.
Which is prominently featured. But yeah, no, the patrons of the bar are just dressed like motorcycle gang members. The madam of the entire place is played by Sam Phillips, and she's just wearing like this green dress that kind of looks like she's being like, it's like she was halfway through being eaten by an anaconda and then it died. Like that's kind of the look that she's going on. So like I guess that's a little exotic.
And then she pops up later in another outfit where she looks like she's just an extra in the Groove is in the Heart video.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. And yeah, but there are some costumes on our main 3 characters, the 3 guys who come in, but they're straight up Ren Fair costumes. Like they are dressed. I don't know if they were going for like some kind of swashbuckling vibe, but it really looks like medieval, like a low grade Ren Fair costume. And then you mentioned, John, like, yeah, some of the women on the planet are like kind of snoo Amazon types, but then we also have like women with Roman style togas, and then we also have like leather dominatrix style with like tasers. So they didn't even really pick a lane. Like Andromina, they mentioned there were factions. Okay, they were very clear. Like it's airtight plotting.
They were very clear, Steve.
I know. He said, hey guys, there's factions on this planet here. That guy with the very heavy Jersey accent.
My God. Listen, that one guy,
Mike Roman is his name.
Omar is the name of the character. Yeah, the character Omar sounds like way too many of my extended family. It made me uncomfortable. I got a kick out of like that guy because no matter what was happening in this movie, this guy was walking here, and you were not going to be able to take that away from him.
Well, and he is kind of like Pauly D before Pauly D. He is
Jersey Shore,
very Jersey Shore kind of archetype before that kind of made it into the mainstream culture. But yeah, so he was kind of like the ringleader. But yeah, that's kind of the whole impetus for going to this planet, is that they're going to try and cajole some women into moving into the sex club. And it proves to be pretty easy work, it turns out. They're all like pretty down for this idea. But yeah, it's functionally plotless from there. They kind of land on the planet, and then it's just a series of encountering women. The 3 men get split up. So I guess there's a little bit of an arc. Like one gets picked up by the cave women, who immediately make them their king. And then they have the other guy who gets captured by like the futuristic space lady who puts him on like a torture rack. And then the Jersey Shore boy is getting pursued by 2 different women who decide to work out their differences in, the way that they only could.
I'm convinced these guys were allowed to pick their character names, because if you get any Italian New Yorker in the year 2000, that guy's picking Jeter as his name.
Jeter. There's two E's, so it's very different. Yeah, yeah. There's Jeter, Cody, and Omar are our three guys. Jeter and Cody look identical to me.
So
I
you
could not
cannot tell them
tell
apart.
which one was which. And they
I'm
even
so
have
glad you
some
brought that
scenes
up.
where like they're watching each other. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Why are we cutting back and forth to the same guy? Yeah, and I think I didn't realize at first that I was using the R-rated cut of this, but like some of the editing that was happening in here, like literally they go from one scene like women are wearing clothes and then it's like hard cut and their clothes are gone and it's not explained and then they're just dismissed. So like I'm like, wait, that's the moment when I finally had to look up like, wait, is there another cut of this? And yeah, there is another cut somewhere.
Well,
But I
there's
think it's been
that,
lost in
and then
time.
when you see it happen, it's being accompanied by what I think is a slide whistle when the clothes are falling.
Yeah.
I got hung up on a line pretty early on and spent way too much time thinking about the math of a particular line. The men have already been separated, and the guy sees the two girls having a picnic. One's like feeding the other one grapes, and he goes, "1-on-1 is good, but 2-on-2 is even better." And I was like, what's he talking about? Like,
Because there was one of them. Yeah.
There's only three people here. So what was the 1-on-1 is good, but 2-on-2 is better? What did that mean?
Okay, yeah. I know the exact shot because then they cut to the other guy walking along like what looks like a Southern California like river walk. And I thought it was the same guy. And so I thought he was going to like go find his buddy so they could go back and have 2-on-2 sex with these women. And that never really came up.
Okay.
Yeah, I was very confused about that phrasing.
All right.
And why he just left.
That makes sense. That they left the information in there for me. I just didn't parse it.
Yeah, no, it is pretty incomprehensible, this entire movie. But I was getting a couple like, I don't know, I kept wanting to fast forward through things, but like every time I looked up at the screen, there was another like batshit development or another line delivery that made me laugh or another like this approaches kind of good bad movie status.
It does.
Me.
I agree 100%. I feel like a lot of some of the other softcore stuff we watched, it's like if it's not really working, you're kind of like, all right, well, what's the point of it then? And it's like not wholly successful if it's not really doing a job. Here it is because Shira Deland, who plays Roxy, every line delivery is fucking hysterical. Like
she was looking at the camera so much.
Like it was just like there is a movie that exists, and John, you were talking about this phenomenon of like men finding like cave tribes of women who want to use them, and there's a really terrible movie called Dinosaur Valley Girls that does this same exact thing, and the Valley Girls in that movie do not even approach the Valley Girl accent and cadence that the character of Roxy has while she's wearing her like what looks like an Egyptian headdress and Cleopatra-esque dress. Like it, I just was cracking up every time she was on screen because her line deliveries were hysterical. And I think this is verging on good bad. Like I think you can get and even just when things don't match up, like John, you talked before about the math of the movie, and I think good on you for holding them to this for that kind of a lack of attention to detail. But to me, like this does that thing where it's like they realized they had such an interesting title in Andromina, the Pleasure Planet, when it's like really the planet where the majority takes place is called Eros.
Yeah,
like it isn't even the pleasure, like it's not even Andromina where we are most of the time in this movie. It's like one just sounds so much cooler, but it's like, why have any established time and space anywhere where it's so much more enjoyable when anyone can beam their performance from really any planet? It seems like in a movie like this, like just how every single person brought a different accent, a different approach to how they were. And then the woman who is credited as Flower
Mhm.
in the movie, who plays Alexa, she is like taking this material very seriously, way more earnestly than a lot of the other
She's
people.
like the closest this movie has to like an actor. Like I think she's the one who was playing a character more than anyone else. But yeah, it's definitely there are so many moments in this that kind of you would associate with something like a Tommy Wiseau or something like that. Like, I can't believe this is in the movie. There's a scene where one of the guys is in prison and he is fully reading his lines off a piece of paper on the ceiling. He's looking up at the ceiling and reading complex lines and stumbling over words, and you can see his eyes moving as he's like scanning dialogue that's on the screen. And that made it in the movie and is a prominent scene that they really like. That's the kind of thing that you have like good, bad movie nights for. I think the only problem is you would need to make sure that everybody was kind of on board with the rampant misogyny and constant nudity and just kind of like uncomfortable sort of bad looking sex scenes that are throughout this entire movie.
Yeah, the
including
sex
one.
scenes Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, including one that was scored to a didgeridoo. Yeah, the sexiest of instruments. But yeah, but go ahead.
All the sex scenes are like, they're all okay. The guy kind of like stands next to or behind the woman and sort of moves his hands, and she acts like it's the most wonderful thing anyone has ever done to her. Near orgasmic delight just from being sort of like lightly brushed. Then the shirt's off. There's kisses up and down the chest, and then she turns around and faces like a wall or a tree or a post, and then it fades out. And every single one of them are like, they're all the same. Every single one is the same. And I was sort of like, well, could you guys not at least like have one of these scenes be vastly different from another one?
Right.
That to me is kind of what keeps it from, like, if there's anything that keeps it from being so bad it's good, it's like that little, it just displays a general lack of imagination. It goes back to the whole thing where you couldn't put one person in a rubber alien mask. It's just there's like a general sort of like just a little bit, like, give me a little bit of imagination, like show me you're thinking about this stuff a little bit, you know.
And for the director to come from being a professional location scout to shooting a lot of these scenes in what looked like a gully next to a highway, like these are some of the ugliest. Like, there's no sense that you're being transported to another planet whatsoever. Like,
well, John, listen, just you might not know this, but there's a reason why they didn't costume design anyone, and it's because there's a scene that actually is cut in the R-rated one where Omar and Jeter and the other guy are, they're wandering away from all the women, and then they stumble upon a half-buried Statue of Liberty, and it was Earth all along.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really made a monkey out of them.
Damn you all to hell.
You've really got like a golden era Simpsons on the brain today.
I do, but I feel like this has been the case of late, and just like I've been revisiting more of them, and like those references that were always just there are kind of they're really just ready, and trust me, I'm going to be stretching it pretty thin. Some of them are going to be pretty sweaty, but we're going to get there.
That is okay. We can make that work.
Well, this movie, and I think John, you brought up a good point about how like the messaging in the movie is, I say funny. I know, I guess I mean it in sort of a pejorative, where it's like there's the whole conceit. It's like, well, you know what? Really, this planet just can't exist because as it stands right now, we women are autonomous, and God forbid, like we need some structure. We need some men to come in here and just really like, organize things, because if not, it's like we would just be, frolicking and having, and hooking up with each other in a field. And it's like, but we need like someone to come in and to rule, because we're not doing much with our own autonomy. And there was an actual line about like the autonomy of women that one of the women says to Omar. Mm-hmm. And I had to write it down. Like, I didn't write down the actual line, but I wrote down the idea that they were talking about. And I was just like, yikes.
Yeah, I think Joan Micklin Silver did a pass on the script, but I think they rejected her draft for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah. There were two. I normally I don't rely on IMDb trivia because it's always so specious. But there is a quote from the actress Griffin Drew. She's one of the actresses in The Toga, and they asked her about what she remembered about her role in the movie, and she said, "To tell you the truth, I didn't really understand the part. I think I'm an alien or some kind of goddess. I just kind of flit around the film in this lovely pink toga. Eventually, I fall in love with one of the characters, and he takes me to another planet, and I become a shopaholic or something." So she nailed it. Yeah, she nailed it. The only other thing I really noticed, like that's noteworthy as a trivia in terms of the actors here, is that Tess Broussard, who is the other actress in The Toga, I recognized her from Kroll Show, from Nick Kroll's sketch comedy show. If anybody watched that on Comedy Central, he does a character named Dr. Armand, who's like this like Hollywood plastic surgeon, and she plays his murdered wife. It's like a running gag throughout the entire series that she's like murdered. So, and she has been, she's had heavy like plastic surgery done in the intervening years, and so she kind of looks very dramatic and very different than she does here. But that was like kind of a surprising moment. Like, this woman's voice sounds very similar or very familiar to me, and she's from Kroll Show. So she went on to have a career. Most of the people involved in this movie did not really continue acting for long after this, or they went back to like hardcore films or things like that. So
the guy who plays Omar has maybe to this point my single favorite filmography, which is that he's only credited for being in two movies, this one and a movie called Bikini Traffic School.
Oh, I know Bikini Traffic School. Yeah, that's that was a USA Up All Night, I believe. Definitely, I've definitely heard that title in that context.
Yeah, I mean, if you were watching Up All Night, you were getting a bikini something. You know, if it wasn't like bikini, you know, ski school or car wash company. Obviously, that was a very popular one. Or
oh yeah,
you know, like
they never went with the obvious bikini store.
Right. Yeah. Bikini beachside swimwear shop, you know, like they're already in a bikini.
Yeah, there's a chance to double it. You know, why not double it?
You can get, every week you have people coming in looking to buy bikinis. They're trying them on. We're seeing new people. Look, it's a solid gold idea.
No, it's like you got to juxtapose it with it's got to be something that's not obvious. It's like, you know, it's like this bikini ghost hunters. Or something like
bikini
that.
Funeral parlor.
Well, you reverse it, Jared, and you do like coverall bikini shop.
Oh,
that way you still get your juxtaposition you want.
That's awesome.
See, we should bring this back.
Hazmat suit strip club. Like you just flip it. You take the clothing and you flip it with the location. Anyways, yeah.
I like bikini funeral home.
There's your tagline right there. Oh my God. I mean, yeah, this is definitely one of those movies that does not offer a whole lot of context to dig into or talk about, but it truly falls into the category of like, you really have to see some clips of this to really kind of believe.
Well, I have a legitimate question, and I don't know if it comes from the cut that I watched, and I presume we all watched.
Mm-hmm.
So there are two characters who are in the strip club early on, and they shoot like an electric ray at our main protagonist that send them to Eros, the pleasure, which I think is the real pleasure planet.
It's all
so okay, why, like, so where did that scene come from as that being a device that of how they get to where they're going? Like, I get it, like a plot device, but when they get shot by the electric ray / laser, whatever it is, there is a moment where someone starts talking while the electric kind of volts are shooting around, and it sounds like a Tim Robinson character, and it sounds like when he's doing the like bozo dubbed over. And I'm like, who is talking? Is it the character who shot the gun who's talking? Is it them? Is it one of our main characters who's sort of stuck in this like electrical force field about to be transported who's talking? I recommend if you did not pick up on this, go back and just watch that part. It happens like 3 minutes into the movie. I do not understand the scene. I don't understand why it's there, who these people are, because then there's a callback to it right before the credits, which, by the way, the like every person gets an individual credit, sitcom credits at the end of this movie. Like, so funny. Like, all of a sudden it's like Sonny Landon's gonna turn around and smile at the camera, you know, or Jesse Ventura or someone. Like, I love that this movie, these people, not only are they not written in a way to differentiate them, they all look the same, they're all homogenous, and no one gives a shit, and yet they're all individually credited.
But there also was that. Oh, sorry, go ahead, John.
I was going to say, and they also, like, there's a lot of no last name given credits. More than the usual movie, there's a lot of shares of Madonnas in here where I was like, okay, that, like, Flower, okay, I get that. But then there's like other people who are on the crew side of things that are just like a one name individual. It was like, oh, okay, we're not getting last names. That's fine. That's their prerogative.
Yeah. Yeah, look, they knew what they were making, but there was that jarring moment when we're watching the end credits, and like all of a sudden you see a completely nude, thrusting man who was not in the movie
oh my God,
to this point. He was cut out of our version of it. Yeah, so he was cut out, and like it was just this really jarring moment of like, oh shit, where did this guy come from? Like, was this guy ever a part of it?
I'm so glad you said that, Steve, because when that happened, I thought for a second I was going crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wait a second, that is that's a new man,
right?
He's I don't know if he was sweaty or if he had just some kind of oil there, because they did say that, like, you know, one of the things you did when you were there was you had to be anointed with I don't remember what they called it, but they gave it kind of a funny name. But I'm so glad you said that, because that guy that they showed during the end credits, I was cracking up because I was like, that guy was not in the movie.
No.
And so I'm just like, I don't think, John, did you catch this guy too at the end, the guy who was not in the film?
No, it's in the credits.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I did not. I did not continue to watch once the first credit appeared.
Oh, you were not looking for an MCU style stinger at the end?
No, I did not. I did not stick around and wait.
That's what they were doing. They were planting a seed for the APPEU.
APPEU. Wow. APPEU.
Okay, help me out here, because like there was a lot of stuff with the early strip club stuff that I didn't quite understand, and I don't even think I realized that we were looking at our main characters yet until the three guys, or I guess it's the two guys, come to the club and one appears later. But it wasn't until that moment that I was like, oh, here's our main characters. And I don't think I realized that the force field stuff was them. But there's like a whole exchange where a guy is having live sex with a woman on stage. Was that one of our characters? And then he flips off another guy. Like, was the guy on stage having live sex? He like shoots another guy the bird as this guy's like leaving the club or something. Like, I couldn't really understand what that was all about.
Okay, that was the guy that we're talking about who's in the credits, like because it was just this like jarring cut, like you're watching like the sitcom style like photo credits, and then it's suddenly a nude thrusting man on stage, and we're like, I don't remember seeing this guy in here at all. So this is obviously like a cut sex scene that wasn't in our R-rated version. But yeah, I did not clock him like flipping the bird at the early part of the stage, so I just didn't clock him in the movie at all.
Did I see an unrated version? Because earlier you mentioned people's clothes not being taken off, and I definitely saw clothes being slipped off. Like,
okay, so you might have seen the full unrated version.
Okay,
yeah.
So there's a scene at the beginning in the club where a guy just jumps up on stage with the dancer and he starts dancing with her, and then he takes off his clothes and they have sex on the strip club floor. And one guy in the club gets up to leave, and the guy having the simulated sex holds his middle finger up, and the other guy walks out of the club.
Oh yeah, I think that was cut
yeah.
out of our version. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I
Okay.
think you did.
Well,
Yeah, I think you did find a
I'm
different one.
glad that he's represented in the end credits. It sounds like he was an integral part of this whole operation.
Yeah, that's why some of the story beats weren't making sense to us. He was the linchpin. He was the thing kind of keeping it all together, you know.
I think, by casting sort of just like a whole cast of like 5'11" guys with the same build, they're just like slightly different heights, and it's like I don't think I would have to go back and rewatch it to see. Oh yeah, these are the characters from the. Like the guy that gets flipped off and leaves is one of the guys that we follow on the journey, or even the thing about the electrical field stuff, which I just didn't pick up on. It felt almost like a prologue. I think because of the song and the voiceover, and it felt so disconnected that when the guys show up at the club later, I just assumed, okay, now here's where our story begins. I don't think I even put two and two together that they were the same people. Now, to my credit, what I watched was also heavily pixelated. So
sure, yeah. So it balances out.
Facial features weren't a strong part of the transfer.
Not so much. I mean, there really were some insane cuts in these early, like we cut very abruptly to like these two bikers who start firing guns towards the screen, and they're never seen from or heard of again. And they were clearly like filmed in an entirely different camera. Like these are weird insert shots that did not need to be there.
Those are the ones that they shoot one of the characters in like a force field, and then when we're back in the club at the very end, they shoot at the camera, which is what then leads us into our end credits, and that's like where they're bookended, and they have nothing else to do with anything else that happens in the movie at all. There's just I think it's probably a mix of it being such a truncated version plus it being just such a ramshackle production.
Yeah.
Like it just makes it sometimes watching a movie like that, when you have all these what seem like baffling choices or things that are omitted, it makes the viewing fun. It definitely pales, I mean, comparatively to some of the ones that we've talked about recently, like Lurid Tales or Petticoat Planet or Femalian. It's definitely like way more disjointed and kind of amateurish in that way than those ones were. Like it's kind of shocking that one of these movies would jump out and make you kind of look back on or Huntress look back on some of the old ones and be like, oh no, like there was some skill involved in the making of those.
Well, we've covered that as we've like talked about some of these movies kind of get by just on like pleasant vibes. Like I feel like Femalian was fun because it was like a sex positive, like generally everybody seemed to be in a good mood and having a good time making it. This is not one of those. It doesn't feel like so grimy that like I need to take a shower, but it does feel like we've got an afternoon. Let's get this out of the way. Maybe we'll make a few bucks on, Blockbuster or something like that. Yeah. But like, it feels indifferent more than malicious. But it also is pretty sexist in a way that like even Femalian was not. So like it's a weird comparison point to make. But that felt like it liked women and liked sex, and this movie doesn't really feel like it likes anything.
Well, I also feel like I can't tell. It's kind of like a chicken and egg thing where it's like, is this representative of the indifference of kind of Kushner Locke coming to an end, where it was like, all right, well, this distribution deal is falling apart now. So it's kind of like already in Charlie Band's mind, like I'm going to start having to look elsewhere to start getting financing for some of this stuff. Or is it that there was just kind of this indifferent product that now is leading towards making people lose interest in this, as well as like the times obviously changing, because in a couple of years with the internet, things would be very, very different than they are in the year 2000. Like 2000 is such a crazy, it's just like this year that's like right on the tipping point of like, Y2K, and when things go way more digital. After that, this is kind of like, seems like a lost analog thing, artifact.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally memory hold. Like, our usual book of references, it came from the Video Aisle by Dave J, and they have a whole like subchapter about Torchlight and Surrender Cinema. This doesn't even rate a mention. There's no Wikipedia article for this. There's really kind of no footprint for this movie out there. So it doesn't seem like anybody is particularly eager to go to bat for it, which I get. I'm not really prepared to do that either, because it even has like, it comes close to being that good bad movie thing, but it's I think if you put this on at a good bad movie party, it would just kind of make people uncomfortable for the most part. You would laugh at a few things. Like this would be a good like super cut, you know, like cut together some insane like individual out of context moments and like kind of showcase those. But yeah, I don't know, for the most part it's just kind of dull, you know, like it's yeah.
Yeah, maybe like contextually it's dull. I did find a lot to enjoy in terms of just laughing at what was presented on screen a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They're just what, you know, the general indifference towards the whole thing about wardrobing and how characters look and how they would say some of their lines was just, I was kind of having a good time with it in that way. I was just like, there is zero care given to this or thought given to this, and I feel like it got, I don't know, maybe it was as more characters were introduced, but early on I was really wondering if the stilted delivery was going to continue through the movie, because I feel like early on in the movie Andromina is no more,
Right.
it's done. It's almost like Shatner-esque at times, the way that they were delivering
Or
some of
beat
that stuff.
poetry or something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe Allen Ginsberg wrote this.
Well, maybe you should turn this into like a beat poetry stage show for the Austin crowd.
Honestly, like it could be done. I think you would have to deeply explain the context of this, and maybe, I don't know. I think you would have to. It would be good luck trying to find somebody else who's heard of this movie and would show up for a reading like that. But hey, I'm willing to try it.
And John, you took a big spin on the wheel just on name alone. So, what are your kind of final thoughts on it?
That's what an excellent question. You know, it's just it just needed a little kick in the pants. It just needed a little bit of care. Just somebody that will just care just a little bit about the sci-fi side of it and the sex side of it, because it is a sci-fi movie about sex, and its disinterest is in the two things that are supposed to be the drivers. It's not interested
Right.
in sci-fi, and it's not interested in sex. It's sort of just interested in boobs. That's about it.
And even then, only passingly. Yeah.
Only passively is like, oh, that's what they look like. You know, like a 12-year-old brain. It's just like,
Check
movie
that
is
off the list. Moving on.
This movie is as interested in pies as it is in either the sex or the sci-fi. That's so another thing, like you mentioned before, where like something didn't add up in the screenwriting, is the same thing here too, because when the one character, is it Jeter who is doing the judging of the pies, or was it the other guy? I keep forgetting the other guy's name.
Yeah, I truly, gun to my head, could not tell you the difference between these two guys.
Cody. I think it was Cody who was doing the judging of the pies. But when they first come to him and they're like, we have this dispute, it's about a recipe. Because we're women, recipes are obviously very important to our culture. It's like, good Lord. But then it's like, yeah, well, I have this pie recipe. And then the other woman's like, I didn't steal it. It's a family recipe. And he's like, well, then you go ahead and both make a pie. And whichever pie tastes more delicious, then that will be the recipe. And then when they come back to him later on, they bring the food and he's like, what is this? It's just pie? It's like, yeah, you fucking said that in the beginning. You knew it was pie. You knew. Set the rules.
Yeah. Like truly, and they're trying to go for some like weird King Solomon sort of parable there, and then just like don't even see it through.
I did get a genuine laugh though when it went from like he took a bite and spit both of them out to them. They're just like, well, what do we do with this pie we're holding? They start rubbing it on each other.
That's my instinct. Yeah, that's my instinct, especially if it's a really gross pie. Yeah, definitely do that. Well, I think we've wrung all the possible content out of Andromina, the Pleasure Planet. John, thank you so much for being here and for witnessing this insane little artifact here. What are you working on right now? Do you have anything you want to draw people's attention towards? Anything that you'd like to plug at the moment?
No, I will say it's been about a month and a half since Man Finds Tape came out on Blu-ray, so that's out there for people to purchase physical copies of, as well as on VOD for rent or purchase on your favorite digital platforms. Fuck My Son is still in theaters. Just keep an eye out. I guess you can follow them on Instagram at FCK My Son to find out if it's playing in your neck of the woods. Other than that, I start shooting a little indie horror here next week, and I can't tell you about it yet, but yeah, that's what's on the horizon. So I'm still grinding away in horror, which is great. I would not mind being a horror guy. I'm already a fan, so if I'm just casting horror stuff, it's all the better.
Nothing wrong with that. Long career in that one. Yeah, and we're genuinely so psyched for your success, and it's been really cool to see. And I'm excited that there's more stuff coming up down the pipe. So I'm very excited for you. That's really cool.
No, that rules. And definitely check out the spread in Fangoria by our friend Colleen Carney Hefner. That's so fun to open up that issue and see that. And I think if you grab that, I think that was the winter 2026 issue 30, volume 2, issue 30. If you grab that off of a newsstand and flip through it, not only that article, but you're going to find a lot of other articles that I'm sure that you're really going to enjoy. If you enjoy what we do week to week on this show, the best way that you can show us is to go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and drop us a 5-star rating and maybe write a little review. Reviews are nice because, especially if they're more recent, because people who might just be kind of stumbling around looking for some new film-related podcasts might stumble across us and see some kind words, and it'll just help us reach a wider audience. And that's we would be very gracious if you did that. And if you want to know what we're doing kind of on the weekly, Instagram is the best way to follow us at puppetmasters_Castle Freaks, or you can follow me at _Giallo_Jared. We do update on Blue Sky, and we have our YouTube channel, so audio versions of the podcast drop every week as well on our YouTube channel. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, you can email us at puppetmasterscastlefreaks@gmail.com or leave comments on the episodes on Spotify. Always fun to see those as well. Maybe one day we'll start doing some more YouTube related content, but it's hard because Steve's a busy boy. And Steve, what else have you been working on?
Well, I also host the show Cinema Arcade, which is cinema and arcade mashed together. That is what we do. We talk about movies and then play the video games based on those movies. And we are currently knee deep in our month of Shrek, an entire 5-week run where we are covering every currently existing Shrek movie except for the most recent Puss in Boots. That's the only one that doesn't have a game. And yet that's the only movie of all of these that I would save in a fire. So go figure. But yes, we are talking. I think when you're hearing this, you're going to be hearing our Shrek the Third episode, which is a movie I've already forgotten what happens in it. So, but once Shrek is over, we'll have all kinds of fun and interesting things happening. And I'm not even denigrating the Shrek movies. A lot of people have been really wanting to hear those ones. So yeah, go figure. But you can also find my writing at Comic Book Resources and at Macabre Daily, popping up articles and reviews from here and there. And you're going to definitely want to tune in next week because we have a very strange artifact for you next week. Perhaps our most star-studded movie. Well, not even perhaps. Unequivocally, our most star-studded episode to date.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be talking about a movie called Gun: Fatal Betrayal. This is a re-edited version of a short-lived anthology series from ABC, directed by Robert Altman, starring James Gandolfini, Rosanna Arquette, Randy Quaid, Sean Young, Daryl Hannah. Like, there's a lot of heavy hitters in this movie. It's basically 2 episodes of that show that have been mashed together into a movie. It's very bizarre, very worth talking about. And it gives me a chance to talk about Robert Altman, who's one of my very favorite filmmakers of all time. So very excited to do that. So tune in next week to hear that episode.
Man, do I love being able to end a podcast by saying, tune in next week while we talk about the career of Robert Altman. Everyone, this was Andromina, the Pleasure Planet.
We're really running the gamut here.
Thanks again to John Gholson for taking the time to spin the wheel on this super weird one. And we will see you next week for something that could not possibly be more different than what we covered today, man. Sometimes the spreadsheet just works out in our favor.